Back here on HQ Spotlight, we are checking out the NFC North standings. The Lions and the Bears with the same record, 6-3, but the Lions have that tiebreaker. The Lions are a -700 favorite to win the division. Packers, they're next at -340. Then we get into some of those plus odds with the Bears and the long shot being the Vikings at +490. And we're going to give out some midseason grades for each and every team in the NFC North. And for that, let's bring in our very own JP Acosta and Mike Renner. Let's start with the Lions, 6-3 atop of the division. Dan Campbell takes over play calling against the Commanders, and the offense seemingly comes to life, gentlemen. So, JP, kick us off. What is the midseason grade for Detroit?
I'm giving them a B+. It feels like business as usual for the Lions this season. They've had a little bit of inefficiency offensively, which you knew was going to happen with Ben Johnson leaving, Frank Ragnow retiring, so I couldn't give them an A. But it feels like with Dan Campbell taking over the reins as play caller, it feels like there's just more intention to use the Lions' speed on offense as their biggest asset, getting Jahmyr Gibbs out in space, getting Jameson Williams involved. That's something that a lot of fans have clamored for before Dan Campbell took over. They wanted to see more Jameson Williams receptions and more targets. So I think they're starting to find their groove offensively. And defensively, I thought Calvin Shepard has done a pretty good job given what he's had to work with and all the injuries they've had on the defensive side of the ball. I'm still a little worried about long-term how their offensive line is going to hold them back. And we'll find out what they really are like against the Eagles on Sunday night. But it's been real business as usual. Keep the train rolling. So I'm going to give them a B+.
Yeah, it's hard to go anything really lower than that. I went B. I think what they've done compared to expectations, losing both offensive coordinators. That was all anyone wanted to talk about. That's all I talked about, truthfully, with the Lions all offseason, because they were so good at what they did in Detroit. They really have done well to cobble it together. I think the biggest reason for encouragement for the Lions is Aiden Hutchinson. The fact that it could have been ugly. That could have been a career ender or a career altering injury. But now he's back and the same guy we saw before the injury, maybe even better. So this Lions team that we thought the rest of the NFC North was making ground on them, gaining ground, could have surpassed them. They're still atop the North here 10 weeks in. Okay, so a B+ and a B for the Lions. Let's go to Ben Johnson's new team in the Bears, and this is a team that is in the playoff race, in the playoff conversation. And we've seen this team fight back and find ways to win, albeit not against great teams. We saw it against the Raiders, the Giants, and you guys are on the same page here, Mike. Both of you guys are giving this team a B+. Yeah, it's hard as a Bears fan not to be excited about where this team's going. I think we can all agree that this is a flawed team right now, and especially when you look on the defensive side of the ball, they need upgrades. They need Jalen Johnson back if this team's really going to compete. But this season revolved around Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. If that duo could mesh and be successful, this could be encouraging for what this team could be long-term. Well, they're a top 10 offense in terms of EPA per play in the NFL right now. That's success. And they're 6-3 despite having a negative point differential. They've won the close games. They've been there at the end. When we thought maybe after week 1 that could be an issue once again after how last season went. So all signs pointing upwards. Even if I don't think this is your NFC North champions in 2025, they'll be right there in 2026.
Yeah, like Mike said, this defense gives me a lot of pause for what they can be this season. I think their pass rush is still trying to figure out who is going to be that ace pass rusher or somebody next to Montez Sweat. Hopefully Austin Booker becomes that guy. But offensively, you at least have a floor now with Ben Johnson at the helm and Ben Johnson calling the plays. You at least have something that you can know you can bank your identity on. And something that I've thought is they've done really well this season is they've shifted their run game. They've shifted their philosophy on offense. They used to be really heavy drop back passing. We're going to turn Caleb Williams into just this Chicago version of Jared Goff. And while I think that it could have worked, but they knew that it wasn't going to happen for them right now as a team. So they switched their offense up. They became more predicated on the run game, and they started letting Caleb Williams throw the ball downfield off play action. So I think Ben Johnson's ability to adapt and adjust this offense gives me a lot more hope for the Bears in the future. But right now, I'm going to give them a B+.
Guys, you're tough graders, because if we haven't given out any A's or even an A- at this point, I'm not really seeing any A's in our future. But I mean, who knows? Let's go to the Packers, because the conversation here for a while was, hey, the best of this offense is just ahead of us. Over the last 2 weeks, it doesn't seem like that's the conversation surrounding the Packers. Renner, I'll come to you first, because I know you were there in person to see that 10-7 result against the Eagles Monday night. But give us the grade for the Packers as we are here in midseason.
I think it has to be a C+, or even lower if you want. It can't be in the B range. This team thought they were on the precipice of a Super Bowl. You don't make that Micah Parsons trade unless you do. And here they are, third place in the NFC North through 10 weeks, 3 losses by 3 points, 1 tie. The offense comes and goes in regularity, and just they should be consistent. All the personnel is there to have a consistently great offense, but more often than not, it has not been. And now the defense has been great. Top 10 defense in terms of points per game in the NFL. That's going to carry them wherever they want to go this season, but it's going to have to come with an offense that's more consistent. So for all those reasons, I went C+.
Maybe I'm just a little bit nicer to the Packers. I'm giving them a B-, and it's for the reason Mike said. That defense is incredible. Micah Parsons has done everything that you've expected him to do since coming over from Dallas. You found sustainable ways to get your second level playing at a really high level. Quay Walker's been at his best. Edgerrin Cooper looks like a future star, and you're getting a lot of great play from Carrington Valentine, that secondary. You're getting Evan Williams playing at a really high level, and I think I give them a B- specifically on the offensive side of the ball, because even though they have faced a lot of inefficiencies with their offensive line and with the ground game, not having Tucker Kraft and not having Jaden Reed is really sort of my, all right, I'll give you a mulligan for this year. I'll let you slide for this one. But I do think I have a lot of questions about what they're going to do on the offensive line and if they need to start making changes up front, because they really have to get that run game going if they want to be successful.
So it's a B- for the Packers from JP, and then a C+ from Mike. Okay, finally we have arrived at the Vikings. The JJ McCarthy situation, I don't know if I want to say worrisome, but kind of. By the way, he was limited in practice today with a bruised throwing hand. And JP, you're giving this team a C+.
I am giving them a C+, and it just feels like nothing has gone right for the Vikings this season. It feels like they're still trying to figure out who they are, who they want to be. They have the high wins, which are the Detroit game, the first game of the season against the Bears. You can see it with J.J. McCarthy sometimes, but the other times it just feels like he's still playing too fast. It feels like he's still mechanically off. So you're wondering what happened during that offseason, during the time when he was rehabbing that knee injury they faced his rookie year, and you're just hoping for a little bit more from your quarterback as you started to progress during the season. But outside of that, I actually thought their defense started off the season a little rough. They went through a really rough stretch where they couldn't defend the run. I think they've played a little bit better in that area for the last couple of weeks, even though they lost to the Ravens. But I do think the defense has started to turn themselves around. It's really just about that offense, and can they get the quarterback going, and can they get their offensive line healthy?
JP, I wish I had more professors that graded like you when I was in college. I might be a doctor right now instead of talking with you guys about football. But I'll say this about the Vikings. I gave them a D+. The vibe with Vikings fans that I know is closer to an F. They are not happy with the results this season. This was a team that was on the precipice of the 1 seed before the Week 18 loss to the Lions last year. They thought this was a Super Bowl team, and they thought J.J. McCarthy would be an upgrade over Sam Darnold. They thought Sam Darnold was a product of the system, all this stuff. Things could not have gone worse at the quarterback position. J.J. McCarthy, not only has he looked awful out there, worst completion percentage in the NFL, worst EPA per play in the NFL when he's played, he's been banged up too, and keeps getting banged up with his play style that's been very reckless, very unwilling to give up on plays. So he's taking a lot of hits there in that Vikings offense. So for all those reasons, things could not have gone much worse to the Vikings this year, given the expectations. It has to be one of the lowest grades in the NFL through 10 weeks.
Careful what you wish for. Maybe Sam Darnold wasn't such a bad option after all in hindsight. Okay, time for a mid-season pick to win the NFC North. And Mike, I know you said you don't think it's the Bears because you think they could be NFC North champs maybe next year. But who are you going with this year? Give us your pick on who is going to win the division.
I'm going with the Packers. They have it all in front of them. They already beat the Lions, and they have the 5 other divisional games still left on their schedule, whereas the Lions still have some tough non-divisional games with the Eagles, with the Rams. And the thing about the Packers is they are still a sleeping giant. No team has really looked like they've for sure gotten the better of them this season, despite 3 losses and a tie. They've hung with the top of the NFC. They only allowed 23 total points in the Eagles and Lions game so far this year. That defense is built to shut down elite offenses around the NFL. So for all those reasons, I think they roll through the NFC North in those divisional games, get at least 4 wins of those 5, and that makes them champs.
I'm going to go with the Lions still. I just think there's too much continuity among that roster. I think when you have a quarterback like Jared Goff, you have all the weapons that they have. And I think Dan Campbell's actually shown that he can call plays on offense. And then you have a coordinator in Kelvin Shepard who is doing a really good job with this defense. Hopefully you get some positive injury regression where you get a lot of your guys back. Terry and Arnold should come back later this season. DJ Reed should come back. So once their secondary gets fully healthy, I expect this defense to be good again. I just think the Lions have too much for them not to be NFC North champions.
JP, Mike, we certainly appreciate it. Midseason grades for the NFC North and also giving us their predictions on who was going to win. Mike going with the Packers, JP going with the Lions. Speaking of the NFC North, these are the games on tap in the division this week. Minnesota hosting the Bears in a crucial game in the NFC North, and the Packers in action against the Giants. And again, the Lions and the Eagles for Sunday Night Football.